We are going to look at the 4 intelligence officers who are performing hostile surveillance on Bishop Alexander Muge. We can even say that they are principal offenders, although one of them is the one who actually killed the bishop by applying a poison-laced handkerchief on his mouth and nose. When it comes to hostile surveillance, I have already recorded it. You can watch it. When it comes to Operation Shika Msumari, I have also uploaded it and you can watch it. Today I'm concentrating on the 4. The first one was the driver, whom up to now I've never been told his identity. Behind the driver there was an escort. This escort, I was never told his identity, but the Eldoret handler who accompanied them all the way to Busia and back may have known them later, because in civil service we have transfers, so it is quite possible that they later came and worked in one station. And then there was the inspector who, at the time of giving evidence to the TJRC, both two TJRCs, the task force and the real TJRC, when I was giving evidence, I did not know his identity. And due to exposed nature of Kenya today, you know, those days people used to keep things to themselves. Nowadays we exchange ideas, and when I get witnesses, I get more information, and some of the information I've had altered views. But I decided to stick with what I knew up to the time when Kibaki came to power, so as not to contaminate my evidence with the new information or updating it each and every time. So after giving evidence, you know, the intelligence, when you give evidence in the media or even the commissions, the intelligence usually go there and request for photocopy of all evidences of all witnesses. So it was taken, and to show that my evidence was genuine, there was a time I went to visit a deputy secretary in the tourism ministry, Mr. Henry Masambaka Mungasia, at Utalii House. So when I had left Mr. Mungasia's office and was going between Utalii House and Nyati House, I met a colleague who was an inspector like me when I was still working there. I tried to greet him, but he was very hostile, and he started accusing me. He was saying that I should not be like HIV people, because there was a time when one discovered that he or she had HIV, they made sure that at least they spread it to another person. So he was telling me that when I discovered that I've been sacked, I'm looking for somebody else to be sacked, and what is worse, I'm even looking for him to be jailed, because murder, he has to be jailed. And he didn't mention murder, but he just said jailed. I was shocked, and he told me, stop pretending that you are shocked, you know what I mean. Then I went home. There are those occasions when I lock myself in and try to memorize. So I later visited, virtually I visited my mind, and remembered the descriptions that I had made of that inspector who left the vehicle, went and applied poisoned handkerchief to the bishop, the crew commander. Then that is when I realized it was him. It meant that the agent, the handler who told me of the issue, had a good description of that person, and I also had a good memory to really describe him until when he read the report, he thought that I had mentioned him. But as I had said, I had sworn never to tell anybody, I mean, to add or edit. I will only edit my information for literature purposes, but not inclusion and exclusion, because of listening to other witnesses' evidence. So he's lucky, maybe he's lucky, because if nobody else discloses him, I will never disclose him. Concerning the handler, as I had said before, he was born and brought up in Busia, and before he was transferred to Eldoret, he was a handler in Lugari. So they were sure that on the road between Eldoret and Busia and back, they did not have problems, because you can remember there was somebody, Kingara, I think it's Kingara, who died, who was killed next to Nairobi University. When students came out, there was somebody who took out the police identification, and they went through. So this so-called dog escort is the one who clears the way. He knows all the corners, he knows everything on how to make sure that their work goes unhindered. As I had said, he escorted them back and whatever. And how did I come to meet him, and how did I come to win his confidence? When Bishop Muge died, I was in Mandera. So some people write in social media, but if you follow what is written in social media, you'll be at confession of a confession. It's not even admission, because at the meeting I have to be the witness there. I remember I was the acting deputy district intelligence officer in Mandera, and Sergeant Chege was the duty officer that time. So when Sergeant Chege came to give me morning briefs of intelligence of the whole of Mandera County, when he had finished, he asked me, "Afande, unajua Bishop Muge amekufa?" I asked him, how did he die? He told me he had died in the exact way that Okondo had predicted. And I remember at that very same minute, I told Sergeant Chege, Okondo is in really hot soup. I said so because political assassinations, you don't tell somebody you're going to kill him. Even Bishop Muge, when he knew he was being pursued, he only had a clever way of placing a radio tape next to the meeting, but those people do not tell you that I will, just like the Jack of Jumat, if you hear me dying, then it is so and so. You give a third party an opportunity to kill you, then because you have already indicated the blame. So I knew that Nani had already misspoken, because the government, when they want to kill you, they don't go advertising it. And then a few months later, I was transferred to Eldoret. And I was transferred to Eldoret. You know, most people used to earn and consume the whole salary within a week. So my salary went to Mandera, and I was in Eldoret. So everybody, when Eldoret, they got their salary, everybody went to his own way, his or her own way, and I remained in the office alone. A few days later, they had utilized the money and they were broke, so they came back to the office, and each and everyone would come and whisper to me, "Unamwona huyu jamaa hapo eh?" They told me two things about him. One was that anybody who comes here on transfer, he will ask him for a loan. And if you give him a loan, expect not to be paid. Two, he had a bigger TS than our boss. TS, of course, means top secret. So I was so much interested in knowing the TS. Then one day, when my salary came, he shadowed me everywhere I went. Boss, nip a loan, yes. I took him left, right, whatever. He was still insisting. And I asked him, why do you want the money, the loan? He said, I want to go to a bar, drink, buy meat or whatever. So once I get my salary, I'll pay you. But since like any intelligence officer or like any journalist, I was interested in knowing what this TSC had that even the bosses did not know. So one day I told him, let us go to Mahindi Hotel. Mahindi Hotel is opposite Eldoret Police Station. I was there 2 weeks ago. And whenever I'm in Eldoret, I must pass there. I took him to Mahindi Hotel. Then told him, how many beers do you want to take? He said we took the beers. Then I asked him, what is this thing that, what is this thing I hear that you know and other people do not know? Then that is when he told me that one day an inspector came because ASP Elijah Oda had already been told to expect some visitors. He was been told on phone. So this fellow came and they needed a person from the area. So when they needed a person from the area, he was selected because, not because he was better or anything, but because he fitted, he knew the place around, and even in the place of work he was above average. They took him, and he's the one who noticed all things that was happening. And he's the one who saw the bishop trying to overtake the lorry that is emitting soot, and the accident just happened. So when the accident happened, that is when the inspector took out an handkerchief placed in poison and applied on the nose and mouth of the bishop. And then that is when they went back and he was dropped, and the others went to Nairobi. After hearing the story, I then was shocked. You see, I tried to react normally. You see such a story, even if you're strong-willed, you'll still be shocked. So I just kept quiet and asked him, okay, and how much did you want as a loan? He told me, and I gave him the money in full. In full, you know, I had been told that he usually takes people's money with no intention of refunding. So I used that opportunity to have him drink a lot, to have him eat as much meat as he wanted, and I ended up giving him the full loan that he wanted, when in my heart I knew that that is information I had bought. Then we parted ways. And you know what? At the end of the month, the gentleman called me back to the same hotel. They had earned, and he told me he wanted to see me. So I said, okay, because my salary was to come late again. So we went to the same Mahindi hotel, and he bought me a drink. But I was concerned because I didn't know why he was calling me. And also, it is not good to rely on drinks from a junior officer, and also not even from a junior officer, from anybody, because you don't know when the taps will go dry. So you want him to finish whatever he wants to tell you, then you go. I asked him what he wanted to see me. He told me to stretch my hand below the table, and below the table there was some money. Checking on the money, it was the exact amount that he had borrowed from me. And of course, I had been warned that he's the type of a person who, when he borrows money from you, you'll never get it. So I didn't even ask him for my money, and all that I knew is that I had bought information. And he gave me the money back in full. When I was, because I had forgotten, I asked, he said, can't you remember? He said, let us go to the Urino. We went to the Urino, and he told me, you remember I borrowed this amount from me? I said, oh. Then we went back to the same table. I used the same money again to buy alcohol for everybody. I later came to know that those were the days when we apart from the airport and KICC and other places, we didn't have CCTV. So those are the days when you used to believe that even the most reliable person could be wrong once, because everybody in the office had told me that this agent, if you are to get money from you, he will not refund it, but he refunded that in full. But because I had taken it out of my mind, I took out and we drank the whole money. Those are the 4 agents that occurred, that did hostile surveillance to Bishop Alexander Kipsang Muge.